Welcome back to the U.S. Bank Lounge at Money 2020 here in Las Vegas. I'm Steve Johnson. We are talking about the future of finance in this entire web series and this podcast series. And today to talk about stop chasing invoices, embedded payments, and productivity tools to improve cash flow, we have with us from my left to my further left, we have Tyler Pichach. He's Global Head of AI and Go-to-Market with Payments and Banking from Microsoft. Welcome. We have Pari Sawant. He's our Chief Product Officer with Elevon. And Tom Skomba, who's Managing Director at Accenture. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Now, before we include all of the voices, we want to get to you, Pari, and about this is turning out to be your press release forum for the day. You've got more new news to share about what's going on with Elavon.
Yes. See, for years, people have used payments around workflows, and we are changing that right now. With our partnership with Microsoft, we are bringing the ability for our merchants and consumers to pay right within Microsoft 365 tools. So if you are using Outlook or if you are using MS Teams, you will have the ability of paying for products and receiving payments through Microsoft products. The product line is called Elavon Live Payments, and it launches soon.
Well, it's always fun to have somebody from both sides to be a part of this. Is an exciting part of this particular launch. What does this look like from your perspective?
Hey, look, we're super excited to see the growth, obviously, of M365, Teams, Outlook, and the other products that are part of that overall solution. But Microsoft is an ecosystem, and we really believe that growth comes from partners and partners that are really building to broaden the capabilities of our solutions. And so we see US Bank and Elevon as one of those key partners to really enable great experiences for our customers. I mean, if you haven't seen this yet, and I guess if it's still coming soon or by the time we hear this, it's now live, the experience is so natively part of Teams or part of Outlook, you actually may not even know that it's a US Bank or Elavon thing, other than the fact that there's some branding there. It's just so natural to what the flow of work is doing. So we're super excited to partner with US Bank and Elavon on this journey.
And I think that's one of the things that we've been establishing over this series about embedded payments and how they are really transformative for the customer, the end user of this, and it being built in and being so seamless, those kinds of things. I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? To make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, I know. Like, we'll just maybe give you an example on this. Say you're a lawyer, you're on a call using Microsoft Teams with a consumer. As the call finishes, you can actually send an invoice and get paid. It's good for the business, the law firm too, but also for the consumers, because consumers get complete transparency into the time they used and the payment they have to make.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in there because it doesn't actually end there. I love that part of the flow, right? Like you had that, you're the lawyer, you had the conversation, you got invoiced, now you got paid, but you also had Microsoft Copilot recording the call, taking the notes and all the action items, so you have a follow-up for your next meeting, and you can be so much more productive. Again, it's just such a great, better together story. We're so excited about it.
And that's where I want to bring you in, Tom, to talk about what are the primary benefits of embedded payments being used this way. We're swimming in this, and we all understand exactly all about these elements, but there's so many people who are still, this is a discovery point. So why is it so useful?
Steve, this is exciting, and the things that Tyler and Pari are discussing here are emblematic of the trend that we're seeing in the market. First, meeting merchants and the users, the people who work on behalf of the merchant or are part of the merchant, where they are. Second, generating a great consumer experience as part of that flow. Think about the example that Pari and Tyler just mentioned, the lawyer example with their client. That's a trusted advisory type of experience, and you're able to pull up the outstandings, be able to have that payment experience, and be able to see it all in real time. That builds trust. That's a great relationship. And it enables commerce as well. Yeah, that's the really exciting thing when you think about ELP, Elavon Live Pay, and what it could support from a merchant perspective, from a consumer perspective.
Let me throw in there really quickly. You mentioned that the word trust, and I think that that's kind of a big deal whenever we're talking about how the rails are changing or how we're infusing new tools, those kinds of things. Anyone want to comment on the idea of like, how do you ensure compliance when you add these new layers and they add these new platforms? How are you looking at it in terms of the compliance element?
See, Elevon's being part of US Bank. Okay. We have trust by design in everything we do. So all our platforms, we spend tremendous amount of make sure every transaction is secured and is compliant. And out here, really, we are talking about two companies who have built their businesses on trust.
That's right.
This is enterprise grade payment security, and this is enterprise grade software from Microsoft. And so I don't think it can get any better with this partnership.
How is it that Microsoft looks at is thinking about payments? How do you see it? Because everything about Microsoft really has to do with, like, what's your workflow? How are you making things easier in all of these other aspects of your work? And you're looking at it in terms of the integration. How do you think about what's the foundational thought from Microsoft's perspective about payments?
I mean, so payments is a big word for Microsoft. There's a lot going on in the industry. We're super excited. Everything from all of the new data sources that are available now with ISO 20022 as an example, moving towards how we use that data through treasury platforms, finance. How do we think about fraud capabilities? Again, good area for data. And even all the way now thinking about how do we think about agentic payments, agentic commerce all up. So lots going on around payments, but fundamentally it comes down to how we can enable our customers and our partners in the flow of work of what they do day to day. I mean, because driving the use cases like the lawyer use case or the therapist use case or many others around professional services, it really has to make sense for them to really help them do the work that they do. And that's what Microsoft 365 has always been about, which is productivity, which is enabling those kinds of experiences. And so from a payments perspective, this completely intertwines with our strategy around how do we make people more productive? How do we help them in their day-to-day?
And when it comes to the productivity, Tom, throwing this your way of increased productivity throughout an enterprise, what has been the experience from how you all work with organizations about getting buy-in that, these are going to be positive steps for you?
Well, efficiency is one of those things that's critically important to businesses of all sizes, from SMBs, where it is the primary constraint and one with huge opportunity costs for growing the business, to some of the largest enterprises and platforms across the world. And the fundamental power of embedded payments is it streamlines the number of systems that a user has to go to. It is instant. It's embedded fundamentally. So it's an integrated, invisible experience that connects payments, software, commerce, the movement of money, the movement of data associated with it. And it lays the foundation for intelligent experience. In a survey we did of over 450 finance executives across US and Europe, over 99% said that real-time information and insights is critical to business outcomes. That ability to get that information in real time, speaking to the experiences that Tyler and Pari are bringing up, that's tremendously powerful. And you could start to think about what if, really for any services type experience, this sort of solution has value, not only in driving efficiency, which is something we are seeing in our research that businesses of all size value and are willing to pay for, to growing the business as well. Those areas are often talked about apart, but they're really critically interconnected, and also with the experience as well. Pari, you often talk about the experience, and that's so critical to being able to drive value across the different users and stakeholders.
And from your perspective, is this is because of people are just getting warmed up to this idea, or there are still so many that haven't done it? Is this still a push for US Bank when you're bringing these kinds of tools? Is it being an easier push than maybe 6 months ago?
It's not an easier push per se. See, we are trying to build a bridge between getting banking and payments to productivity. Okay, that's the path we are on. And we've invested significantly. We've got the next generation of omni-channel payments platform and banking platforms, which will be built over years. We have our own software. We're working with players like Microsoft to bring software to life on those platforms. And then once the software experiences are built, now comes the fun part, right? Now comes the place where merchants are engaging with the software. And then when you engage with the software, we want to bring the right product at the right time, whether it is lending, whether it is buy now, pay later, whether it is currency optimization or payment optimization to these merchants to make that magic happen. So eventually, I don't see it. I feel like all of this needs to be in the natural workflow of these merchants, for us to bring payments and user experiences together for them to manage their business.
Tom, you mentioned 450 in that survey that you all did. So for you and for Tyler, where are you seeing the most traction? What industries are the most traction when it comes to embedded payments, if anything in particular?
Well, I would say across every industry,
okay,
we're
great.
seeing that first. And second, I would say, the services industry, both professional and businesses services, there's a tremendous diversity of businesses and user personas as part of that. With the sort of solution that's mentioned here, there's an opportunity to bring solutions in the context of how those merchants work, in the context of how those users work, in the context of bringing solutions for the merchants to meet the consumer need, whether it is a consumer or whether it's a B2B payment. We talk about the need to accelerate cash flow for businesses from a B2B perspective. And this sort of experience supports that as well from both the merchant side and then also from the payer side as well.
Tyler?
Yeah, no, I mean, I echo that. Again, professional services, we've been talking about this for a while. Like, how do we help them really grow their business and enable things in a much easier way? I mean, we always say, like, do they really want to be doing financial reconciliation? Do they really want to be dealing with the payment side of it? What type of payment should they use? They want to actually be with their customers. They want to be spending time doing what their core business is. And so I think solutions like this that are embedded in tools that they're already using, like M365, really helps enable that. But it is cross-industry. It's not specific to any one group.
See, I think the whole point of embedded payments, there's a classic thing in rideshare, right? You don't pay for it, you've arrived. Okay? I think that's the philosophy we do take for everything in all other applications in where merchants are. And so for us, it is about payments becoming invisible. And then the focus gets onto the product and service and the experience you're receiving. And that's what we want to do with embedded payments.
So if I could flip that, where's maybe there's more headwinds in trying to get involved in some industries if they're resistant to it because of age or whatever else might be their bailiwick. Is there some place where you're finding it to be more difficult to get into, or is it a size? Maybe it's like, it's harder to turn around a larger industry to get to this kind of thing.
Well, I think it's part of that evolution of working that we're starting to see across businesses of different sizes. And, I use the term or the question, what if? That's a tremendously powerful question. And for those who are looking for opportunity to drive efficiency, to drive growth, starting with that question, what if, to different problem statements, offers the opportunity for solutions. And when you think about the power of connecting software, connecting payments, connecting banking, connecting to commerce, that's tremendously powerful. And, the ubiquity of Microsoft, the trust, the security of US Bank and Elevon in that regard, that's really powerful as well.
Yeah, I think there's a discovery angle here as well that's important, right? I mean, like every business has to do invoicing, every business has to do payments. Every business has to figure out a way to bring those together. And so all of those businesses out there that are, for example, using Microsoft Excel and they're trying to track that invoice that they sent to one company or brought another invoice or payment from another company, maybe they're bringing that together and they're putting it on an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe they're going to send an email to one of their suppliers to say, hey, you need to pay me for these things. And maybe they need to redirect in Teams, for example, as a conversation they have with another supplier. So, I just painted a picture of them using all these Microsoft tools to take all these manual steps what we've actually done here is brought those together within those tools and effectively automated them so that they just become seamless as part of the overall flow of work. This is the power. It's like people are already doing these things. They're just doing it in a manual, high labor way, inefficient, in the platforms that we're already talking about, which is M365. Like bringing that together and making it simple, that's the power of this. And I think the blocker is people kind of realize a little bit that, wait a second, they're making too many steps. Once they see this, once they actually start using it, I think it's going to be a simple, wait a second, this is a better way. Right. Just like the Uber example, it's just easier. This is the same kind of thing.
So what's the advice that you give if we put on our counsel hat? What's the advice that you're giving to businesses who are considering this? So what's step 1? What's step 3? What's step 7 that you would say, hey, this is what you have to do. This is how you get there quickly.
Yeah. So I think first is to understand where the friction is. Okay. I say, if you have 60 minutes to solve a problem, spend 55 minutes defining the problem and then 5 minutes solving it. Right. So that's the first key. Second thing I would say is don't overboil a solution. Okay. You need to be very surgical in how you want to solve for it. And the third thing is that ROI needs to be immediate. It needs to be fewer clicks, faster cash, and happier customers.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, to layer on top, though, I think for people to understand what the solution is, the first folks that I would talk about are the ones, again, that are already using M365. They're in Outlook, they're in Teams, and just to take a look at it and just see how actually native to the platform it actually is and how easy it is to use. I have a feeling, or my hypothesis is that once people actually just start clicking at it a little bit and start experiencing it, they won't go back because it's just so obvious and so natural. And so I think, enabling people to understand what it is a great immediate step to start leveraging the platform in a bigger way.
Is there a favorite element of the live payments with 365? Is there a favorite component of that platform that you really like, that you're really happy that was a part of?
See, business happens on Microsoft 365, right? You're naturally setting up calendars, you're setting up meetings, you're collaborating using tools, whether it's Teams or following up on emails, etc. So there's work happening in this places. What we've done out here is now when you come in to do work, we've enabled payments, but now you can manage your whole business. So you can see what your meetings are scheduled, how much you've got paid, what is your forecast on payments. All of this comes together into that experience, right? And I think that itself is magical. And I know we've chatted, Tyler and I've spent some time, and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we could do with Microsoft, Copilot, to actually optimize the experience even further.
Yeah, I want to echo that and just say, I think historically there have been some attempts by others to think about integrating tools where it's just the payment. And if it's just the payment, I don't think that's enough. I think the market has said that's not enough. It actually has to be really about the journey that they go on and the things that surround the payments, but also include the payments.
Yes.
And so for me, when I think about the invoicing capabilities, when I think about the calendaring capabilities, those things together with the payment, that's where the magic really happens on this. To me, those are the features together that make up the real shining star and how this is going to move forward.
And in real time as well, when we think about where payments is heading, and that's exactly right, Tyler. Payments is so much more than just moving money.
Right.
And we use the phrase the 3 I's: instant experiences, invisible, being able to move between different domains seamlessly, and intelligent as well. And that ability to have real-time experiences, going again to the survey that I mentioned before, that leads to smarter business decisions with greater confidence and better outcomes as well.
All right, so I'm going to start with you. A last question that I have for the three of you, and we've been kind of trying to get this from other people. Get your crystal ball out. Trends that are coming, and especially when it comes to embedded payments or productivity. Is there a fourth eye in the future? Is there, or what else? What other letter is there in the future as this evolves?
Well, we have to talk about AI and agentic. And when you have the foundation of embedded payments, you could start to think about layering in intelligence through the journey, being able to use agents to support efficiency, but also to support a accelerated market to cash cycle, growth, commerce enablement. That's really exciting, I think, for players across the value chain to lead to better, trusted interactions and smarter, faster business outcomes.
I'm going to build on that, right? I think we're all getting to a world of intelligent commerce. I'm not going to brand it at this stage. And that intelligence is going to flow on all sides of it. So for merchants, they're going to be expecting intelligence on predicting cash flows. What offer should I give my consumers? For consumers, are also going to use intelligence to drive their shopping and personalize their shopping experiences. They might get an agent to shop for them or discover products and shop for them. So I think this world is going to intertwine, but I think we are heading into the world of intelligent commerce.
Yeah, I mean, I'll layer on top. Obviously, I'll brand it and call it Copilot for payments, Copilot for doing the work that you need to do. I mean, again, that's one experience. It could be others, but yeah, it really, if I had my crystal ball going, we talk 12 months from now, 14 months from now, having this AI assistant really support you as a business owner, potentially as a consumer as well, and your daily lives and your daily work effort is going to incrementally grow. And I think having the data and these embedded experiences within M365 is the foundation to enable that. It just doesn't happen, overnight. It's something that we have to put a lot of work in. And I think the partnership we've done with US Bank and Elevon to really integrate into the Microsoft ecosystem is that foundational step, which will enable those experiences that we're all going to be loving in a bigger way 12 or 14 months from now.
We're looking forward to seeing how this thing, as it rolls out and gets used and talked about. It will be great. Tyler Pichach, thank you very much for being here. Tom Skomba, appreciate it. And we're going to see you here and in and out, Pari. So don't go anywhere. Don't get out of that chair. This is the future of finance, the US Bank Lounge here at Money 2020. Keep watching.